Ladies and gentlemen, I have a grave announcement. Those strange beings are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. 0.5 degrees per second.
One of the biggest philosophical questions is, are we alone in the universe?
It seems absolutely inconceivable that in this gigantic universe, we are the only living things and the only intelligent things.
We know today there are close to 1 trillion planets. This search is among the most profound of anything that human beings have ever done. My name is Gentry Lee. I am one of the most fortunate people who ever lived. That I could be part of the only generation that would ever explore the solar system for the first time. The pictures that came back astonished the world.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
The greatest value of science fiction is the way it opens your mind to possibilities. But if there are so many planets and a likelihood that life is going to emerge, where are they? Perhaps there is something about an advanced civilization that limits how long it survives.
Technology is what's made us human. Everything that's distinguished us from the animals is our technology. Spirituality will always remain because the universe will always be full of mystery. There will always be things we don't know.
We're seeking the answers of those questions every human being asks himself at one time. Why am I here? Why is there a world? Where life comes from, what forms it can take, what is its eventual destiny?
How is it possible that something so natural can be so beautiful? My colleague Arthur C. Clarke said, the technology of an extraterrestrial civilization will be indistinguishable from magic.
Good morning.
Hi, Adam.
Hi, Robert. Hi, Gentry.
Hi there.
If I may call you that.
Of course. What else would you call me?
In your presence?
Yes.
Well, it's a pleasure. I was just actually hoping I had another minute because I was catching up with the New York Times review, which, congratulations. It's always helpful to have a nice review.
It certainly is.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah. Gentry, where are you?
I'm in New York City. Our tour has started.
That makes sense.
Tour.
Right. That makes sense. Where is the screen? Where are you screening in New York City? I know it starts
IFC Center.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, Greenwich Village.
Yeah, sure. Of course. 6th Avenue. Got it. Well, congratulations. And Robert, I think we did a Q&A at the Woodstock Film Festival where you had a Hudson Valley premiere.
That's right.
Yeah, which I enjoyed thoroughly. I got to see the film very early on, working along with the Woodstock Film Festival as one of my gigs. And it was the first film I saw for last year. Like, of all the, I don't know, 40 films or something that I saw, Starman was the first one. And it was a great way to kick off the process because I really loved it so much. So it's a pleasure to be able to talk to you guys about this. It almost feels like the culmination here for you both, like to make this film together. I know, Robert, you've had a lifelong fascination with space and space exploration, and Gentry, obviously, to say the least. One question I had for you, Gentry, was had you been approached before by filmmakers?
I have done a number of and I love those phrases, standard films where the producer comes in and tells you, now I'm going to tell you what to say. And I go, oh, okay, yeah, if that's what you want to do.
Oh, I see.
My favorite one actually was a Nova that I think I did and Robert, you'll have to tell me if I have the right date, back in the 80s, called The Rocky Road to Jupiter. I was the chief engineer on Galileo, and Galileo got delayed 5 different times, and it was a standard film. What I mean by a standard film, I was the chief engineer, so I was supposed to talk engineering. And if I ever got outside of engineering into philosophy or science or anything like that, they say, no, 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 no. We just want you to be an engineer. I said, but for most people, engineers are boring. And they said, no, 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 no. We know what we're doing. So the answer to your question is, the first person in my life who was in filmmaking who ever came to me and said, I would like you to talk about what you want to talk about, was this man.
Well, Robert, talk to me about how you had conceived this interview. Did you conceive the film kind of the core of it to be around an interview? We're just training your camera right on Gentry and letting him, as he just said, talk?
Yeah, well, Gentry and I met. We were introduced by my producer, Ray Rothrock. And I went out to JPL and we met and we had dinner. We had a long night talking and drinking wonderful bottles of wine. And I knew right away that the film, I knew I right away that I had a film, and I knew right away that Gentry should be the heart of that film and should balance his personal life story with all of the incredible ideas and philosophical musings and obsessions with science fiction and UFOs and are we alone and life and Viking and all these kind of things, that he could pull this all together. And I knew that I wanted to allow the audience to experience what I was experiencing, having dinner with him, which is he's looking right at you and communicating directly to the audience. So that was clear for me from the beginning. Where this was all going to go was slightly up in the air. But what I loved about Gentry from the moment I met him is that he tied in this kind of broad spectrum of what space means to us. Everything from, okay, we're going out to the near planets in our solar system with robots and exploring. We're looking through the telescopes to the back into the beginning of time. Radio telescopes are searching the heavens for possible signals from alien civilizations. And then with our imagination, Gentry's imagination, working with Arthur C. Clarke, okay, what can we extrapolate from our science to imagine contact with another life form? So we incorporate a lot of science fiction films, and also Gentry and I also share a kind of fascination with the cultural phenomenon that so many people believe that the aliens are already here and there's no mystery at all. So that's kind of interesting. And so I'd never met anybody who would encompass all of these things in a single life. So as Gentry said, yeah, just let it rip. Yeah.
What were you? Well, both of you are kind of looking for a response here. The first portion of the film, the first kind of section or chapter, explores Gentry's upbringing, his growing up, his fascination with baseball, and which was, of course, a kind of a survival for him. And I mean, that was a very transparent and emotional part of the film, which, I wondered if that was something that you guys had expected to incorporate into the film as well.
Well, no, I was not prepared for that at all. I can tell you that in the course of the 3 or 4 days that we interviewed Gentry with a sizable film crew, and for a documentary at least, I think we had like 10 people in the room. He had the entire crew in tears many, many, many times. Um, Yeah, Gentry's very in touch with his emotions, and that's part of what makes him an incredible communicator. His emotions, personal
Yeah.
emotions, and also his passion for what he does and his desire to communicate that passion to other people. And it's a rare thing.
And no filter, and a lack of filters.
Yeah.
Where did that come from, Gentry?
Adam, I'm going to confess that at my core, I am still a little boy. I have never allowed my life to take that away from me. And I have seen the film 10 times now, and I cannot get through the passage about the teacher who changed my life
I know. Yeah.
without tears in my eyes. I mean, I was not a normal kid. There's lots of boys and girls out there who are not normal, and the society is pushing them to be normal. And when somebody finally told me, hey, it's okay for you to not be like everybody else, it changed my life completely. Now, that lady, Mrs. Bertha Casey, was extraordinary. They've named a school after her in Austin, Texas.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
because I'm sure that I was not the only person. But what's not in the film, but I will share with you, is I went into her Latin class. And the first day she took me aside, she says, I've been told about you by the teachers. She said, you will not disrupt my class. In exchange for that, I'm handing you Caesar's De Bello Gallico. And when you don't have anything else to do, I want you to translate it and send and give me the details. Huh? I was 13 years old.
How'd you do?
Oh my goodness. Arma rurumque cano. That's I sing of arms.
They did it.
Amazing. And then, but as as Robert kind of is touching on, it's that boy, or even Gentry, you did, the boyishness that you hold on to translates right into the passion for space exploration and the sciences.
And also, Adam, I will confess, I'm a knowledge junkie. I absolutely love my interests spread across an enormous spectrum. And I know every day I'm going to learn something I didn't know the day before, and that's going to make me happy. And I want to tell all the people out there who feel a little bit out of step with the rest of society. There are only two things. In one of the Rama books, I have a character who wins a big award, and he has to make a speech. It's my speech. And he says, there are two things that are important in life. Nothing else really matters. And they are loving and learning.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And as much as your passion translates, cinematically, we do benefit from a lot of wonderful visuals and archive. Robert, you want to talk a little bit about how you chose the footage you did choose, or especially with archive makes a little bit more sense. You're telling a story, but some of those visuals look like a lot of work and expense went into them.
Well, it was a difficult thing to visualize some of the concepts that Gentry's talking about. When I think
Yeah.
the centerpiece of the film conceptually is when Gentry's talking about the issue of time and space, which complicates our ability to ever know whether we're alone or not. And it's hard to explain. You got to see the movie, but we have a
Good
whole
point. You got to see the movie.
yeah, you
That
got to see
does
the movie.
crystallize things.
I can't sit here and explain the visuals to you. That would be
And we'll
way.
show the trailer, or the people will be able to listen or
Yeah.
watch the trailer who
But it's
watch
very
this.
visual. We use a lot of clips from sci-fi films because that's another passion of Gentry's, and it's another way of I think science fiction is a way that we have sort of take these ideas that we are fed by science, which is
Yeah.
likelihood that we're not alone, and then extrapolate that and imagine what our future might be and what that might look like. So science fiction plays a big role in the movie, and I think in the sort of holistic look at what space means to us as a species.
Right. There's sort of a double-edged sword with the science fiction aspect, because on one hand, it's a way viewers and people that love these types of stories relate to the subject matter because they've read science fiction, and it makes them feel more that they could talk about, or they're more interested in space exploration as a subject. And on the other hand, they may also be hoping and counting on that we might meet little green men, in our lifetime. So
That's all addressed.
it's true. It's true. Yeah, the one of the other main cores, I don't think it's a too big of it's not really a spoiler to say the film does go into explaining, and Gentry does a great job of how um, difficult it would be because of how long it would take to get to another, right planet where there's potential life. It would just take, couldn't, it would take thousands of years, correct?
Yes, with today's technology, Adam, the getting to the nearest star is a 10,000-year experience in a spaceship.
Right.
Of course, our signals are radio signals travel at the speed of light. So the closest group of stars, the Centauri group, is only 4.6 or 8 light years away. But when people talk about the possibility of finding another Earth, we call it in our jargon as Earth 2.0.
Right.
I am absolutely certain that there exists another planet somewhere around a stable star like the sun in much the same, what we would say, evolutionary state that we are. And what an incredible question. Did life start there? And then, Adam, what people don't understand is that you and I, could not possibly have been here if there had not been 5 times on this planet Earth when more than half of all the species were destroyed. The dinosaurs that lasted for 100 million years would not have ever allowed you or me and Robert to survive. Any mammal bigger than this, they whacked. And so we had to wait until they were destroyed in order to evolve as mammals.
Robert, where do you go from here as a filmmaker? This seems like for you, like the culmination of a career, having made this film Starman, which
I hope not.
no, I know. Well, I'm begging a question here from you, but it seems like because you have expressed in what I've talked to you about and what I've read that you have had this lifelong kind of obsession with space, and it seems like this film really is as a real point of departure for you.
Yeah, good point. No, I probably won't make another film about space, but one of the things that Gentry and I have in common is
How could you?
we're both knowledge junkies, so there's lots of other things I'm interested in. But yeah, I did a 6-hour series called Chasing the Moon, about the race to put a man on the moon. And now this, I think we've gone back to the beginning of time and met other civilizations. Like, where else is there to go in space? Yes, I'm probably done with space.
Mm. And how can you be done with each other, though? It seems like as what was the actor in Casablanca, the beginning of a beautiful relationship?
Humphrey Bogart.
Well, I know Bogart, but I was thinking that, oh, yeah, he did say it right to Louis. That's true.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes. But, how do you guys how does it feel after being so closely bound together through this process? I'm sure this has been now how many years?
3.
No, Gentry, it's been 4. I looked it up.
Okay.
It was June 2022 when we
Okay,
filmed it.
right, 3.5. All right. Well,
that
first
crazy?
of all, finding someone like Robert with whom I have so much in resonant frequencies. I don't know if non-physicists know what that means, but Robert and I can just share a word or two and off we go talking. So I think for me, it's going to be a lifetime friendship. But what he has done for me is wonderful. There was probably a yearning in me during all those interviews that I've done on all those other programs for somebody to say, what do you really think? And finally, Robert did it.
Mm-hmm. So it's therapy.
Yes, therapy.
Well, I'm kind of shocked, Gentry, that these other documentary filmmakers told you what they wanted you to say. That's really distressing.
No, that's because they had me in a box.
Right.
Here
And they
is
scripted it. Yeah.
Right. A super engineer. Therefore,
Right.
I'm thinking like they were thinking. I know what a super engineer knows and what he doesn't know. I'm going to keep him in his box.
Well, they were in a box too, though, to their defense, weren't they? Because they weren't thinking outside of that box. They were they couldn't imagine that they might have got a multidimensional human being with them to talk and explore a subject with on many levels, not just the engineer, Peg.
And the only person other than Robert that I think that has recognized that was my mentor, who was the project manager for Viking, a wonderful man named Jim Martin. I'll never forget, he walked into my office. Now, I had a very big role on Viking, but I was not a famous scientist. He walked into my office one morning. He said, "Gentry, I believe you are the only person on our team who can deal with the press in a way they might understand. So I'm going to have you do all the press conferences." And Robert actually has caught some of that in the film. There I was, my hair down on my shoulders, wearing obnoxious, obstreperous clothing, up in front of the cameras day after day after day, trying to explain to the reporters. Now, Adam, in 1976, the number of people in journalism who even knew F equals MA was maybe 2. That was all. And so their questions were, I had to feed them questions before the press conference, or they would not have asked questions that made any sense.
Gentry, I don't know what F equals MA is.
Maybe you could explain it.
Yes, you do. It's Newton's law. You know that.
I don't.
Okay. It's Newton's law of motion. Force is equal to mass times acceleration. Whenever I explain to somebody how an asteroid only 10 kilometers in diameter could have destroyed the dinosaurs, I say, remember, momentum is mass times velocity. The asteroid wasn't that big. It was moving at 100,000 miles an hour, and you have no concept of what that is.
And the destruction it can wreak.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There was a tidal wave 3/4 of a mile high that rolled up the Gulf Coast of Texas.
Amazing. Wow.
Which is another thing that possibly limits advanced civilizations, right?
Yes.
Which touch on the film.
Yes.
Right.
Limits their ability to survive is just that.
And Gentry, are you, last question, I think, are you, how much of you, are you still actively involved?
I have been, but I'm retiring next month, and
what?
I'm retiring from my day job because I have a lot of books I want to write, and I'm not going to write science fiction. One of my avocations is literature. I've studied the world's literature, and I want to take a shot at writing literature. Now, everybody says, why do you think you can do that? I said, wait a minute. I was asked that question when I decided to do Cosmos. Then I was asked that question again when Arthur C. Clarke invited me to write novels with him. I said, I don't know if I can do it or not.
Right, exactly. Maybe you won't, but there's absolutely no harm in trying.
Right. And I want people who are out there to look at their lives that way.
Yeah.
And I tell people that there are only 2 things that matter when you get to be really old: the excursions in your life above the threshold of joy and the excursions below the threshold of pain. Everything else becomes foggy. And those excursions above the threshold of joy are what I experienced dealing with Robert in this film.
Oh, thank you, Gentry.
I'm so glad I got a chance to talk to you both, because I watched the film 3 times. And it was only the last time where my partner objected to your ties, to your neckties. but where did those come from? It was the one thing she noticed. And she's an academic, so,
It was the 70s.
What's that?
I have to tell, do I have a minute or two to tell the story? Okay. When I was working on Viking was run by the Langley Research Center, and the man who was the project manager was Jim Martin. But the building of the lander and its design was done by a company called Martin Marietta that's now part of Lockheed Martin. Okay. And all the executives at Lockheed Martin wore black or blue suits, white shirts, and black or blue ties. And when Jim Martin told them, I want to promote this guy to be responsible for over 100 of your engineers, they said, that guy? That weird-looking guy? I said, so they called me into the room, and they said, now, we would like to suggest that you change the way you are. Otherwise, because you're not like us, you're going to have to be 20 to 25% better than anybody else, or we're not going to support you. And I said, I'm going to continue to dress the way I dress. And I winked at him, and I said, and if I'm not 20 to 25% better than anybody else, you fire me.
I'm guessing you were not fired. Starman is, as we speak today, Friday the 6th, in select theaters. It's at the IFC Center in New York City, for instance. And if you are smart enough, you'll get over there this weekend. And if you're even brighter, you'll get there this evening. I'm going to have to figure out how to get some of I can get this video up today. I can do that. So I can say that if you're especially intelligent, you'll get over to the IFC Center tonight and meet Robert Stone and Gentry Lee in person. And then you can also ask lots of hopefully smarter questions than I asked. But thank you both.
You did a great job.
Well, I appreciate it. I wasn't fishing, but thank you. Thanks very much. And I wish you, thank you guys. Have a great theatrical. Yeah.
Bye, Adam. Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Take care.